I know a lot of people are wondering, did Disney screw the pooch on this one? And yo, I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. This was one of the best things for Marvel in a long time. Daredevil, the 2 episode premiere just landed tonight, and I am insanely impressed. Now, granted, there was a couple of little things here and there, like some ugly rooftop shots that I felt kind of weird about. I thought like the CGI or just the way that they threw it together looked kind of odd. They also had a huge death in like the first 5 minutes, which just threw me off guard. But you know, a lot of people saw this one coming. It wasn't too left field. It was just kind of crazy that it hit the way that it did. But I will say, seeing Murdock, Nelson, and Page just 2025 on screen again, Daredevil coming back, Disney Plus, MCU, it was so cool to see these characters just walking out, just laughing again, having fun, and just seeing some crazy things. I'm pleased to say that a lot of the stuff that we saw in the trailers were within the first episode. So I'm glad that we're not getting spoiled from, 5 episodes down the road. Daredevil versus Bullseye, that happens in like the first 5 to 10 minutes. I love this fight. There's this one scene where they're fighting behind a glass door. They're going to different sections of the building. You can see their shadow in there and they're fighting, and they end up knocking the door down and then continuing in that room and just going at each other, knives in each other's back, doing all this crazy stuff. Some of the moves and choreography was just crazy. All of this is happening while that one person is dying in the background, and it's really emotional. It was just one of those, it wasn't like I'm gonna cry my eyes out. It was just one of those like, daggum, like really? Like that, just kind of like pulling on you a little bit. So that was crazy. There's a fight on the rooftop. That certain person is below them bleeding out on the ground, and they're on the rooftop, and they can kind of look down and see it. The whole time you can hear that person breathing really heavy, and you can clearly tell that person isn't going to make it. The person dies. Murdock unleashes fury, throws Poindexter, Bullseye, off the rooftop. They think he's dead. He's actually not dead. He goes into custody, which is, we knew he wasn't going to die in the first episode, right? So he's going to be back at some point, but right now he is arrested. So there's a cop that ends up coming up to the roof. He finds out that Matt Murdock is Daredevil, because at that point, Daredevil doesn't have his helmet on. He is exposed, and the guy immediately, it's cop, he immediately recognizes Matt Murdock, one of the best lawyers in the city. Then we're hit with the 1 year later sign that pops up, and I'm like, daggum, that went kind of quick. So 1 year later, enter Kingpin. You see Kingpin. You also see Daredevil. They're kind of, clipping these scenes together. Matt Murdock's kind of going through his closet looking for a suit, picks one out for his day job. You see Kingpin going through his suits. You see the iconic white suit. He's kind of tapping his fingers through each suit. He stops at the white one. The white one is obviously the iconic Kingpin suit. That's what he wears when he's getting down and dirty. He's in the trenches. He's, he ain't up to no good. So he actually passes the white suit, and he ends up going with the darker toned suit, the more standard suit, if you will. So kind of just basically they're saying Kingpin's here. He's turning a new leaf. So he's doing his own thing. So Wilson's wife, Vanessa, is actually over the street mafia, is what I like to call them. The 5 families, does business with them. She's taking over the business while Fisk is, been on his journey healing from being quote unquote attacked by the vigilante, also being shot in the face, and Echo. He's been away for some time. He's now come back. Vanessa doesn't really know how to feel about this because she's been on her own. She's taken the business. She's actually made the business more profitable and better than it was under Wilson. So Kingpin lets her know that he has 25,000 signatures, basically telling her like, hey, I've got the signatures and the requirements here. It's time to run for mayor. One thing that is up right now in New York is crime. Daredevil has been gone for a long time now, about a year. Crime is up like crazy. So Fisk is basically doing his campaign, and he's trying to hit that on the head. We get Bullseye's trial. So with Matt not being Daredevil anymore, he basically is saying, I'm not going to take him out myself. The best we can do is just hope he gets a life sentence. Bullseye ends up getting a life sentence. Paige is there. It's the first time that Matt's seen Paige in a year. Obviously, Matt and Paige aren't on very good terms in this point in the series. So after all that's said and done, they go their separate ways. Paige is now in a different city. So I would assume this is how Frank Castle gets introduced. They obviously have ties to each other from previous series. That's probably how he's going to get roped into all this. Matt hears about Fisk and announcing his running for mayor, and obviously he's not okay with this. I mean, we know Daredevil, we know Kingpin, we know what went on during the Netflix series. It's all canon to this. It's now in the MCU. we know homeboy does not like that. So he's the whole time he's just going through his head. He has no idea what to do. So he meets up with Kingpin and he's like, hey, can we talk? Kingpin actually says yes. They go meet at a diner. They joke about him getting shot in the face. They kind of laugh a little bit. You know, Kingpin says, younger generation, what can we do? They're cracking jokes, but Fist just breaks out and says, I had nothing to do with the death of XYZ. And he says that Kingpin has not returned. He's turned a leaf. Murdock tells him the obvious, which we all know. Like, if you step out of line, dude, like, I'll be there. And Wilson wants to know, you know, are you talking about as Matt Murdock, the lawyer, or are you talking about the other guy? We don't really get an answer there. They just kind of stare at each other, but we know what that means. I mean, if he steps out of line, Daredevil coming to whoop that ass. So that kind of ends their conversation there. Wilson says to Vanessa that he knows about Adam, which I would assume is a previous lover, unless I'm missing something. Or maybe she cheated on him while he was gone and she begs him not to kill him. So it's kind of like that's what I'm getting at. So maybe that'll come into play a little bit later, because Fisk is obviously bothered by this. Murdock gets set up on a date in a kind of a weird way. His new partner is kind of out there and in his business, basically says, hey, can you go meet this person? She needs a lawyer. While she also tells her friend, hey, can you go meet this guy? He needs a therapist. So they both think that they're going to go help each other out in their profession. And turns out it's embarrassing. It's a date. They don't know how it's going to go. It ends up going great. They date throughout the 2 episodes. So it's going good. They're together. The girl he dated is Heather Glenn, which is somebody from the comic books. So it's cool that they pull out all these names and stuff from the comics and they're making her actually a part of the series. So I like to see that. She is a love interest of Daredevil, one of the many. So the first episode ends with Murdock walking away from crime. He's walking down New York City. There's a bunch of stuff going on. It's actually when he finds out that Kingpin has won and that he is the mayor. He's walking down the street and there's a lot of stuff going on. They're chanting. They're like, Fisk, Fisk, Fisk. Everybody's happy. Of course, you got people that aren't happy. I'd say it's about a 50-50 split, but maybe like a 40-60 because he won. But there's a lot of people that aren't happy too. So there's some crime and some people beating on each other. And he just sees it happening. He just keeps walking, man, because he's convinced Daredevil is in the closet. He's got it hung up on the coat hanger. He's not doing it. He's Matt Murdock. That's it. He's enjoying his life for the most part, you know, as well as he can be at this point. Episode 2 starts out with Fisk, you know, talking to the city because he just won. And he actually calls out the vigilantes. So he mentions Daredevil. He mentions Punisher. But really cool thing here, he mentioned Spider-Man. He says we don't need a guy in a spider outfit, which is the first time that we've actually really heard Spider-Man mentioned as a street level vigilante threat and not a superhero, not an Avenger, not, you know, something bigger. Got to remember, at this point in time, it's after the events of Spider-Man 3, Doctor Strange erasing the memory of Peter Parker. We don't know a whole lot about it. The Avengers don't claim him. He's just Spider-Man. He's got his new suit and he is the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. So I thought that was super cool. Then we cut to this guy getting beat up at the train station, you know, the subway station, and he's getting beat up by these 2 guys that are actually cops undercover. Incoming another random guy. This is actually White Tiger. He's not in his costume. He's just the average Joe. He comes in and he beats up the cops. The guy runs away that he saved and basically said, hey, it's your problem. So White Tiger, Hector, is just fighting these 2. And one of the cops stumble back and he gets hit by the subway and just dies. The other guy pulls out his badge. He goes, NYPD, you're under arrest. And he has to take the fall for it because they basically said he murdered the cop. And they're trying to cover it up because they were being dirty cops there. They weren't trying to do anything that they were allowed to do, clearly. So he takes the fall for it. Also, RIP to the actor for White Tiger because he passed away in, I believe, 2023. I could be wrong, but I believe it was 2023. He also played one of the major villains in the Call of Duty series. So I'm fond of his performances. He seems like a really good actor here as well. He's doing his thing. So RIP. We see this young reporter, BB. We actually find out that she is Ben's niece from the Netflix series. He was a reporter and worked very closely with Karen Page and also worked a little bit with Daredevil. So kind of tying those 2 things in were really cool. You also see Kingpin talking to the commissioner, and commissioner's basically saying, hey, dude, once a thug, always a thug. Like, I don't like you. He's trying to make sure that his term as mayor doesn't go longer than a month. And he's telling him, I'll see you around, Kingpin. And so obviously Fisk doesn't like that. So he takes some certain angles there to keep him in line later in the episode. Also, White Tiger, Daredevil finds him while he's off doing his business as Matt Murdock, and he hears cops beating up on him, and he's like, I'm gonna represent this dude because that ain't right. You know, he obviously is hearing some things that people didn't think he could hear. He goes in there, he's like, I don't care if you can afford me, I'm representing you. So through all this, they actually find the witness that White Tiger saved, and the cops are dressed as thugs trying to go there and take care of the witness, because that witness is the only one that saw that White Tiger was not killing the cop. You know what I mean? He was doing his due diligence trying to save the guy, and he ran away. So they're trying to take out the witness, so Murdock has no case to go against the police here. Matt gets to him before they do. He tells him to get out the fire escape. The cops break in. They're dressed as thugs. They start beating on Murdock because, he's blind, but clearly he kind of knows the voices and stuff like that. They start beating on him, trying to tell where he went. Matt's trying to fight it off. He really doesn't want to, do anything here, but he ends up snapping, which this is actually one of the scenes we see in the trailers too. The crazy bone break through the arm. He just takes both of them out, snaps necks. They're not getting up. They're done for, which I thought was cool because I'm like, hey, I'm glad they didn't go episode 3 and 4, without him jumping back into the Daredevil, kind of mindset. I'm glad they did it right here in this premiere, this 1 and 2, so we can get into the juicy stuff after, going into episode 3. So that was reassuring for me as I went in. I thought a lot of the scenes were super cool throughout the series too, without the premiere, the 2 episodes. And they had a lot of, lighting effects going on where he was walking down the street and you could see red light shining on his face and everything. And you can just kind of tell that Daredevil is still within him. That mindset is still there. So I kind of had a feeling it was coming, but Marvel and their Disney Plus shows, you just never know what you're going to get. It's like opening up a pack of Pokemon cards. You don't know if you're going to get that shiny holographic or if you're just going to get a Togepi. You have no idea. So overall, I would say this is about as well as the premiere could have went. I'd give it a solid 7.5. 8 out of 10, just because I really like Daredevil. I like seeing these actors on screen again. I really enjoyed it. It's refreshing. It's great Marvel content. It really gets me hyped up for, future Marvel projects, Fantastic Four, Avengers, Thunderbolts, stuff like that. I actually enjoyed Captain America. A lot of people didn't. I thought it was a good movie. Not the best by any means, but I enjoyed myself. So I've got some pretty good hopes for the MCU right now. Let me know what you guys thought about Daredevil below. Let me know if you enjoyed it, if you didn't enjoy it, if you saw some little things that you didn't agree with, whatever the case may be, you can let me know down below. Subscribe for more Daredevil content. Next week's going to be interesting with episode 3. We're here for the ride. Appreciate you guys watching. Peace.